Hi, I'm Ben. I'm here with Ryobi, and today we're going to make an Adirondack style chair. Perfect for a little outdoor relaxing. It may look complicated because there's some curves, there's some angles, but don't worry, this is pretty easy as far as DIY projects go. So let's get started. We're going to start by cutting our 2x4s to length. We're going to start with the straight cuts. Take our measurements, line up our piece. So we got the first two legs cut, those are the front legs, and now we're going to set the saw to 15 degrees so we can cut the two back legs. The most complicated cuts that we have to make are for the two stringers. Those are supports that go under the seat of the chair. We have two different angles that we have to start with. First, we're going to cut at a 35-degree angle. Now we're going to measure from the long point and then change the saw to 20 degrees and make our second cut. Now we have to cut a little bit off the end here, and we're going to use our speed square to get the mark. We cut the second stringer same as the first, and now the hardest part is behind us. We just have to set the saw back to 90 degrees and cut some more supports. Next, I'm going to cut the front apron and back support. They're the same length. Now we'll move on to the back base support, and that'll be our last 2x4 cut. So now we're switching to 2x2s, and we're going to cut some arm supports. Now, one of the cuts is at a 90 degrees, and the other one is at 15 degrees. Now we're moving on to 1x4s, and we're going to cut 5 seat slats and 5 back slats. Now we're going to cut the two armrests. And our final cut is going to be for the back top support. All the pieces are cut and I'm ready to assemble. Now, I did go over all the pieces with my orbital sander just to smooth everything out. But let's get to the assembly. So we're going to lay out our pieces and we're going to clamp them down just so we hold everything nice and square. And the pre-drilling is just going to reduce our chances of splitting the wood. Let's flip this over and place the stringer. So we're just going to line up this corner down here and then make sure these angled cuts are flush. And on this side, I'm going to measure from the top down. Now, we want the stringers on either side to be parallel to each other. So whatever measurement you take here, you want to remember and mirror that on the other side. Let's clamp it in place and then pre-drill our holes. We have our two sides done, and now we're going to do the seat back. So I have my back slats, and I've laid them out on top of this 2x4, which is the lower back support. Now, we also cut these spacers so that I can have nice even distances in between the slats. To assemble this, I'm going to start with the outside ones, and I'm just going to attach these two outer slats to the 2x4. I'm switching to 2-inch screws. Now these are going to go through the 1x4 and into the 2x4. And I'm just going to add one for now so that I can get my angles right with the upper back support. Okay, let's set these to the side and flip this over so we can attach this piece. And now we're switching to 1¼ long screws. So now that we have the perimeter frame nice and square, we can add in the rest of the back slats and add them in one at a time. We're going to use the 2-inch screws here at the bottom where we're driving through the back slats and into the 2x4, and where we're going into the 1x4 behind with the upper support, we'll just use 1¼ long screws. I'm just going to place a scrap piece underneath so I can clamp it down nice and secure to drive in the remaining screws. So here, since I'm driving through the back slats and into a 1x4, I'm just using the 1¼ long screws. I want to cut a curved profile for the backrest. So I just made a quick little quarter ellipse, and I'm just going to trace that on the back. Now you could also use a paint can or any other kind of curved shape. All right, now that I have the profile drawn, I can just cut it out with my jigsaw. Now we're ready to assemble the base of the chair, and we're going to start with the front apron. And I'm just going to put one hole here and one hole on the other side, and that'll just give us some initial screws to hold it steady. Then we can unclamp it and drive screws in from the sides. And here we're using 2.5-inch long screws. All right, let's install the slats. And now I can just drive in these 2-inch deck screws. So now that the first board is in, I can use my spacers to help me set the distance for the second board. Now I'm just going to repeat this process for the remaining 3 seat slats. Now the slats are in, we can install the back support. It's going right in between here. I'm just going to measure down and make some marks so that I know exactly where to set the back support. So I want the back support to be at a slight angle. So I measure 4.5 inches down along this front face and 5 inches along the back face. So we got the back support clamped into the right location. I'm going to pre-drill holes on either side, then drive in 2.5-inch long deck screws. Now we're ready to place the backrest. I clamped a scrap piece of wood between the 2 stringers. That way, I have a nice little place to set the backrest while I drive screws in from either side. We're almost done. I just got to clamp these armrests in place and then drive a couple screws in each side. I'm lining up the outside edge with this 2x2 and then the top edge of the 2x2 with the back edge of this 1x4. I'm going to fasten the armrests with 2-inch screws. And now we'll just do the same thing on the other side. We're all done with the building, but the creativity isn't quite finished yet. You could paint or stain this and pick a color that matches whatever your design style is. If you wanted to, you could also go in and use wood putty to fill in over the screws. Don't really think that's necessary, but if you're going with a solid color paint, it might be a detail that you want to invest your time into. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next DIY how-to.